or towel if you have it. I'm going to start by taking that and laying it out so it's like folded in half, so it's not too wide, about, a little bit wider than your shoulders maybe. And they're going to just roll up a couple inches of it. If you practiced with me before, you might recognize this. I've done this before, where we're going to just start draping ourselves over this roll to allow the curve that we often have sitting at desks, that forward lean in curve. See my back curve? We're going to work with the opposite curve. So you take that roll and just a couple inches, and then you're going to lay over it. So the curve, so the roll is just under your armpits. So your shoulder blades are on it, and then your head will relax onto the floor. You can put your arms out in cactus arms. And then you put your feet on the floor and settle your hips down. And then just allow the collarbones to open wide and soften into this. If it feels, it should feel good. If it feels too extreme, just unroll it and make that roll a little bit smaller. But we just arrive and notice, oh yeah, this is the opposite of what I do most of the time. We spend so much time leaning forward with the weight, with our upper back actually holding the weight of our head. And this just gives us a chance to do the opposite curve, to balance things out. Your feet are on the floor. You can let your knees lean in towards each other if you like. But mostly think about softening across the back body, letting the collarbones just release wide. Arms can be however. I have mine in cactus arms, but they can be however is comfortable. You might experiment, see which works best for you. How does it feel with them down? How does it feel with them up in cactus arms? Take another couple of breaths right here. And then we're going to have this roll move like 2 inches south, 2 inches down the back, not too far, just a couple of inches. Now you might want to move your feet in and wiggle the body up just a little bit, and just a couple inches, and And again, where do you want your arms to be? They can be down. They might be cactus arms. Let your body be held by the floor and allow that blanket, that roll, to just support a release in the back. Let the back body just spread and release. And then bring your feet in closer again. And we're going to slide the body up. And so the roll not in the lower back, but actually I'm going to pull mine up so that goes right under the hips into a very low, like a really low bridge, the lowest bridge. And you can have your feet on the floor. And take your right knee in towards the chest, flex the foot, and then release it out straight and long. And let that heel rest on the floor. And while that's straight and long, bring the left knee in. Place the right foot on the floor. Take the left leg long, flex the heel, reach it long, and rest it on the floor. And if you like, bring that right knee back in towards the chest. Place the foot on the floor, roll over towards the right, press your left hand down and push the body up. And now I'm going to invite you to maybe take that roll a little bit larger and pick whichever level felt the best. Maybe it's that first level or that 2 inches down or under the hips. And go ahead with the roll a little bit bigger and find yourself back there and let it release some more. And I'll share some Torah. So feel free to make adjustments in the size of the roll, or whether it's right under the armpits, 2 inches down, or even under your hips, not in the low back, but under the hips. And I invite you to hang out there for a little bit. So we're in Parshat Shmini. And in this Parsha, well, there's a lot happening, but we find ourselves at that moment after Aaron and his sons have been ordained. And Moses orders them to perform their first sacrificial service in preparation for the appearance of the divine presence. They've built the Mishkan, they've set it up, they've created the priests. Nothing else to do but do the ritual and wait for God to show up. So the service is a number of offerings, including a well-being offering made on behalf of all the people in celebration of this amazing event. And when the divine presence manifests itself in the sight of the people, signaling that she is pleased with their worship and has agreed to be there, to abide in the Mishkan that they've built for her, the people burst into rejoicing. But at this very moment that this new way of connecting to God, this sacrificial service, seems to have reached its auspicious climax, at that very moment, two of Aaron's sons do something unusual. They make their own offering of what's called Esh Zarah, sometimes called alien fire, but we really don't know exactly what it is. Now, the traditional view is that this is a blatant act of sacrilege, that they are totally overstepping the strictly prescribed bounds of acceptable worship, and God strikes them down on the spot. They are burnt up with this alien fire. But in the Zohar, there's another view. Nadav and Avihu, instead of just being rule breakers, the Zohar loves them. They think they're wonderful, their enthusiasm, their desire to go right into and do this, to get close to the divine. Now, they're young and they made mistakes. The Zohar says these mistakes are out of ignorance. And the Zohar wants to learn about how to get close to God without dying. So they look at these two as heroes and recognize that sometimes that fire, that enthusiasm that we have must be tamed. Sometimes we talk about, the wisdom of experience, but that fire must be tamed. It requires responsibility, and most people don't know how to use their fire. You think it's only going to burn your stuff, that you're only risking your own thing, but it will burn your neighbor and the forests and everything around. So how do we tend our fire? How do we tend our fire? There's two dangers. One, as we're seeing in this parsha, that it'll burn out of control. But the other danger, and this is why the Zohar loves Nadav and Avihu, the other danger is that our fire goes out. Fire as a medium of transformation. So I invite you to think about this in our yoga practice today. And as you're adjusting your role, maybe moving it to another spot, notice the desire to really feel a stretch or feel the work, to muscle through, to just be so enthusiastic versus moving thoughtfully and with skill. So we want that fire, we want that energy, to that spark to be in our movement, but we also want to tend the fire. We want to tend it and move thoughtfully and with skill. So go ahead and roll your blanket up and off the mat. And you can still come back down to your back and see how that feels without the roll now. Feet on the floor. And let's take a reclined figure four. Bring your right knee into the chest. And then place your right ankle across the left knee. Pick the left foot up and pull that in towards you. You can take the right arm under the right knee. And instead of pushing it away, often we hear the instruction to push it away, which is fine, but I'd try something a little different here. Instead of pushing it away, place your hand under the knee. And while the ankle is pushing against the left knee, pull your bent knee towards you. Your arm is pulling the knee, but the knee is pushing against the hand. So you're not going anywhere, but having that isometric stretch in there, maybe you can feel a little fire. Maybe you can feel a little fire. Tend that fire and don't let it get out of control. And release it. And take that right hand, put it through the legs, pick up the upper body. You can reach behind the left leg and pull that in a little bit, any amount, and release the upper body down. And place the left foot on the floor, both feet on the floor, and try it on the other side. Left ankle cross the right leg, pick the right leg up. You can flex both feet. You can think about pointing and flexing if you like. And then take the left hand underneath the left knee. Have the knee press against the hand and the hand pulling the knee. So we have an isometric stretch here. Feeling the fire in the hip. We want to tend that fire today. We want to feel the spark but not let it get out of control. And release it. Take the left hand through, pick the body up, hands meet behind the right leg, and you can bring that in any amount towards the chest. Let the upper body relax down. Make sure you're breathing. The fire needs oxygen. And release the feet on the ground. And once again, roll towards the right. Rest the head on the upper arm and press on up. And we'll come to a cat-cow. So have the hands under the shoulders, hips over the knees. Inhale, drop the chest, lift the hips up into a cow stretch. Exhale, raise the upper back into a cat stretch. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. And now take any movements that will feel good. You can take the rib cage out to the side, back to the hips. Any movement that feels good. Be aware of any fire, or maybe anywhere the fire's gone out. And then come back to all fours. Take your right foot behind you. Curl the toes under and push the heel out. And lift that leg up. And take your left arm out in front. Pull it down into a cactus arm. And straight. And cactus. And straight. And place it down. Take the left toes, curl them under, straight behind you, and push through that heel, feeling maybe a little bit of fire in the calf. And then roll forward and lift that leg, keeping the ribs knit in with awareness to the back body. Don't let it sink. And then raise the right arm, and you can cactus that right arm, and straight, and cactus, and straight. Then take the hand down, curl both toes under. We'll come to our first downward dog. Now you can have your hands, your pointer fingers, feet pointing forward, or you can have the webbing of your hands. You can have your hands wide pointing forward. And lift the knees, push the hips back, back, and then up if you want to come to a full downward dog, or stay on your knees. You can also stay on your knees and do the same lengthening of the back. And bend one knee and bend the other knee. Bend both knees and lift the hips even higher, pressing the hands forward and beginning to straighten the legs any amount. And then lower the knees and grab your strap. Now you can sit on your blanket or on a block or on your knees. Virasana, if that's comfortable, whichever is comfortable for you. It doesn't really matter how you're sitting. So do it a way that's comfortable. But I want you to get your strap, or imagine this is a towel if you have a towel. And we're going to hold it overhead. So not super, super wide, but a little bit wider, than the shoulders. And keep your right hand up And take your left hand and let it go back behind you and down. Feel a nice stretch in the right shoulder. Inhale it back up. Exhale the other side. Left arm stays up. Right hand goes down and back. Not too hard now. This is where we want to tend that fire and not let it get out of control. So you want to feel the stretch, but we don't want to be too dramatic, be too violent with it. Want some ease in there. Now you might I'm going to bring my hands a little bit closer. Mine were a little bit too far apart. So again, right arm stays up, left arm comes back and then down. Notice when you bring it down, see what happens to the right shoulder, that the upper arm bone on the right arm goes into place and the shoulder goes into place for a nice stretch. Inhale up. One more time on the other side. Left arm stays up, right arm goes back and down, and feel that left arm kind of going into place. And you can play with that of how high or low that back arm is. And release it. And final shoulder stretch. You might want them to be just a little bit wider and pull this strap or towel apart. Feel it really taut. Feel that work in the arms. I'm feeling it in my triceps. And pull it overhead and just a little bit behind. And again, pull it taut. Oh, yeah. And forward. And inhale up and back. And if you like, exhale the arms down, down. Slowly, slowly with the strap taut. Slowly, slowly. Tend the fire. Don't let it get out of control. And let it rest. And you can put your strap aside. So I'm going to come back to the mat into, actually, I'm going to ask you to come up on your knees. And if you like, you can use that towel to pad the knees or roll your mat over to pad your knees if your knees are sensitive. I'm going to invite you to bring your arms out in front, bent, and just open them up in a how wonderful. Inhale, exhale, how wonderful. Feels good, and it brings our shoulder blades together. How wonderful. And now slide those elbows out just a little bit and imagine some weight, like you're holding platters that have some weight on them, but also somebody supporting them from below. They're supporting your arms from below. So we have that isometric pressure from above and below. Bring it in. One more time. How wonderful. Slide them out. And then hug yourself with the right arm underneath and release. And we'll come into a low lunge. Right leg forward. How wonderful. Slide them out. And then wrap the arms with the right arm underneath, grabbing opposite shoulders. And you can stay there, or if you like, you can come into Garudasana arms. So keep the elbows together, but just pick the upper arms up and maybe wrap them like that, feeling that space in the shoulder blades. and then release out to cactus arms. And bring the forearms together. Now with the forearms together, keep those elbows glued in and see if you can separate the wrists any amount. And bring it back. One more, separate the wrists. Bring it back. Come out to cactus arms. And if you like a little bit of a back bend here, inhale and back bend. Exhale and bring that left arm down into a twist. Inhale, exhale, and come on down to the ground. Bring your knees down, forearm down, and come on down to the belly. Both forearms down. Feel the weight distributed all along the forearm. And pull your elbows as if you're pulling them backwards. Pull your chest through. Inhale. And exhale. And bring the hands together in a prayer or interlace the fingers. And that bottom pinky can be tucked in. And once again, press the forearms down. You might notice if you're not pressing down, your shoulders are going to just kind of collapse. Not enough fire. Not enough fire. Let's add some fire by pressing into the forearms. And now pick up the lower ribs, the hips, and the tops of your thighs, pressing down on the forearms. Some nice abdominal strength here, and then roll it back down. We'll take that one more time as you adjust your own fire. Where is the fire? We need enough fire in those forearms for this to happen. Press down all along the forearms, pick up the lower ribs, the hips, the upper thighs, and breathe. And release it down and come back up to either all fours, and you can stay there, or you can come on up to downward dog, press the hips up and back, bend the right knee, and take your left heel into the center. Twist that foot, twist the body, allow the hips to just release out to the side, and come back to center. Bend the knees, come on down with the left leg forward. Inhale up. As we're here on one knee, you want to make sure that there's a little bit of width between your legs and feel that back shin. Make sure that that is active. Feel that active and pressing down like it's pressing an inch down below the floor. Take the hands into a inhale, how wonderful, and slide them out. Feel that weight. And exhale. Then cross the arms, left arm under right. Grab both shoulders. And if you like, keep the elbows together and clasp the arms or just have them straight up. Garudasana arms. Inhale. Exhale into cactus arms. Inhale the forearms together. And once again, keep those elbows together and try and separate the wrists any amount. Exhale. Back to cactus arms. Inhale. And if you like a little bit of a back bend, exhale. Inhale. Take the right arm down, the left arm up into a twist. Inhale. Exhale, arm down, and either back to all fours or up into downward dog. And this time, bend the left knee and bring the right heel into the center and twist the body. If you're in all fours, you can just take your left hip back in a diagonal and exhale. And now bring, come on back down to your knees. If you liked being in all fours, you can continue and do that same sequence. But if you want to add a little bit to your fire, we can do this in a high lunge. So bring that right foot forward, pick the knee up, bring the hands up. Now, check and see where your feet are. You don't want to have them be on a single line. You might want to wiggle that right foot out or take the left foot to the side so that there's some space between them so you can balance. And keep that front knee bent at whatever level. If you want to add to the fire, you bend it more. And take the arms into that. Inhale, how wonderful. Slide the elbows out. Feel the weight on the imaginary weight on the palms, like you're holding those platters, but they're being held up from underneath too. And release. And then grab the shoulders, right arm under left. Elbows stay together, but bring the forearms together now in Garudasana arms. Inhale. Exhale to cactus arms. Bring the forearms together. Elbows stay together. Separate the wrists. Inhale. Exhale, cactus arms. Pressing both feet down into the floor. Inhale. Exhale, maybe a slight back bend or not. Just think about the back bend. And exhale. Exhale the left hand down to the floor. And we'll take a twist to the right. Open the right arm up. And just notice. Exhale the right hand down. Bring the right foot back. Press into downward dog. Or you're doing this all on your knees. And bend the right knee. Bring that left heel in. Twist the hips. Come back to downward dog. And take the left leg forward. Make sure you have enough width in there. And again, you can do this on all fours or come on up to a nice crescent lunge. And how wonderful. Slide the elbows out. Feel as if there's weight coming from above and support coming from below. And then left arm under right. Go ahead and grab the shoulders. Elbows stay together, but forearms come on up. Garudasana arms. Now here, notice where your elbows are. If they're in close to your body, maybe pull them out and up just a little bit. Inhale. Exhale into cactus arms. Inhale the arms together. Hold the elbows together and separate the wrists. Bring the wrists together. Inhale, cactus arms. Exhale, maybe a little bit of a back bend or just think about a back bend. Where's your fire? Are you tending it or is it getting out of control? And exhale. Take that right arm down to the floor and we'll twist the left arm up, twist the body over to the side. and release it down. And come on down to the knees and bring the upper body to the floor. And just rest your head. Make a pillow out of your hands. Rest your head. Maybe roll that forehead back and forth. Notice where your fire has been, where it is. One more time, get the forearms on the ground. Interlace the hands. Maybe tuck that pinky finger under. Press down with the forearms, making the shoulders lift up, and then pick up the lower ribs, the hips, the top of the thighs, and release it down. Where's your fire? How's your fire? Do you sit this one out or we do it again? Inhale. Exhale, lift the lower ribs, the hips, the tops of the thighs, pressing down all along the forearms. And release it down. And once again, lay one palm on the other. Lay the forehead on your hands. And roll the forehead back and forth. Just breathe and check in. Maybe put your hands down on the floor, come on up and into a child's pose, bringing the hips back. And again, you can have your hands down and your forehead on your hands, or you can be in a more active child's pose, your choice. Inhale, come forward and make your way to the mat. We'll finish up with a bridge pose. We did that very simple bridge on the blanket to begin with. Feel your back body. We've been doing a lot of work there. Feel your back body supported by the floor. Bring your heels in towards your buttocks. Place your arms alongside the body. Feel the full length of your arms on the floor. Inhale. Exhale and press into your feet, allowing the hips to rise. Any amount. You get to adjust again. Adjust your fire. Tend your fire. Exhale, bringing the hips straight back down. And one more time. And think about how high you want this, how much energy, how much fire into this final back bend. Inhale. Press down with the feet and the backs of the arms and pick up the hips. And you might even curl those shoulders underneath. The knees are pressing out straight. The hips are coming up. You might grasp your hands with a bind underneath. Breathe. Press the feet down. And if you're in a bind, release the arms. Let the shoulders come back down and let the hips go straight down to the ground, slowly, slowly, slowly. And breathe. And take that right knee into the chest. Stir it around. Bring the left knee up to the chest. Stir it around. And then hold both knees in and release. Bring the feet down. Get any props you would like for your Shavasana. You want to maybe use your blanket. Sometimes I like to, just even when it's still rolled, to feel that weight on my hips. Or if you like to get an eye covering or a sweater or any covering. And just feel the floor supporting you. Like at the very beginning when we just melted into that blanket. And if you would like that blanket roll, feel free to use that again. But just release into the floor. And breathe. And notice, what's your fire like now? Letting all the muscles of the face just release and relax. With each inhale, notice the inner fire or the embers of our desire to come close to the great heart of the universe, to Shekhinah, to the one whom the Israelites wanted to be with in the Mishkan. And begin to wiggle fingers and toes. Place one foot on the floor, the other foot on the floor. Inhale. Exhale. And slowly roll to the right or the left, placing the head on the forearm. Inhale. Exhale. Lean the body forward and press on up with the left arm. And come to any comfortable sitting position. Maybe bring the hands together, pressing one against the other. That tending of the fire, how much pressure that it doesn't get out of control, but we keep it alive. Press the back of the thumbs on the sternum. Take that skin up a little bit. Allow the head to drop towards the hands. Be'orcha nir'eh or. In your light, I see light. Namaste. Thank you for practicing with me.